Make a fist right now. Then flatten your palm completely on the table. Those two simple movements right there can tell you something about what is happening inside your body that a standard lab test might be missing entirely. Here is the thing. The damage that Sjogren syndrome and fibromyalgia cause does not just show up on a lab report. It shows up on your body. And more specifically, it shows up on your hands. Often years before anyone connects the dots. You just need to know what to look for. So today I am going to walk you through 6 things your hands may already be telling you about your Sjogren's and fibromyalgia. And some of these are so easy to overlook that most people have been living with them for years without realizing what they actually mean. Number 1. Tingling or numbness in your fingertips. This is one of the most common early signals in Sjogren's, and it is also one of the most dismissed. If you have ever mentioned this to a doctor and been told it is probably stress, or probably nothing, or probably just how you slept, you are not alone, and you were not imagining it. Sjogren's is not just a dry eye and dry mouth condition. That is how it gets introduced in textbooks, but it is a massive understatement of what is actually happening inside the body. Sjogren's is a systemic autoimmune disease that attacks moisture-producing glands throughout the body, and it also attacks the nervous system directly. When that happens, the small nerve fibers in the hands and fingers become damaged. The medical term for this is peripheral neuropathy, and more specifically, small fiber neuropathy, because it is the thinnest, most sensitive nerve fibers that tend to be affected first. The result is pins and needles that come and go without warning. Numbness that creeps in while you are typing, holding a cup, or just resting your hands in your lap. A burning sensation that tends to intensify at night, sometimes enough to interrupt sleep entirely. In fibromyalgia, the nervous system is already operating in a state of central sensitization, which means pain and sensory signals throughout the body are being amplified far beyond what the original stimulus would normally produce. When peripheral neuropathy layers on top of that amplified system, the tingling and numbness in the hands can feel intense, unpredictable, and frankly alarming, especially the first few times it happens. Many people are told it is anxiety. It is not anxiety. Anxiety does not selectively target your fingertips at 3 in the morning. If you experience tingling in your hands regularly, especially at night, do not let it get brushed aside again. Ask your doctor specifically about small fiber neuropathy and request nerve conduction testing, or a skin punch biopsy if conduction studies come back normal, because small fiber damage frequently does not show up on standard nerve conduction tests. Write the symptom down with the time of day it happens and how long it lasts. Patterns are what get taken seriously. Number 2. Thick, waxy, or stiff skin and restricted range of motion. Remember that flat palm test from the very beginning of this video? Here is what it was actually checking. Run your fingers slowly across the back of your other hand. Does the skin feel unusually thick, tight, or slightly waxy compared to how you remember it feeling years ago? Now press both palms together flat with your fingers pointing upward in a prayer position. Is there a visible gap between your palms? Do the finger joints resist straightening all the way, even gently? In Sjogren's, chronic inflammation and ongoing immune activity damage the collagen in your connective tissue over time. Collagen is supposed to remain flexible and evenly structured, but under sustained autoimmune attack, it begins to cross-link abnormally. The skin thickens and tightens as a result. The range of motion in the fingers and joints starts to restrict, sometimes so gradually that you adjust without noticing, switching to looser jar lids, avoiding certain grips, or simply accepting that your hands feel different than they used to. This is not aging. Aging does not happen this asymmetrically or this early in life for most people. This is your immune system working against your own tissue, and it deserves to be evaluated as exactly that. Fibromyalgia adds another layer on top of this. The widespread musculoskeletal pain and the fascial tightness that comes with fibromyalgia can also restrict hand mobility and make the skin feel hypersensitive to even light touch, the kind of touch that would not bother most people at all. If your hands feel stiff first thing in the morning and it consistently takes more than 30 minutes to loosen up, that is not a normal part of waking up. That is a signal worth bringing to your doctor, described exactly that way, with a specific time attached to it, and not one to quietly normalize because it has become familiar. Number 3. Dry, cracked, and peeling skin around the fingers and cuticles. This one looks so ordinary that almost everyone ignores it, including the people experiencing it. It gets blamed on weather, on dish soap, on hand sanitizer, on winter air. But in Sjogren's, The exocrine glands responsible for moisture production in the skin are specifically targeted by the immune system, the same way the glands around your eyes and mouth are targeted. The hands are one of the first places this dryness becomes visible to anyone paying attention. You may notice deep cracks around the fingertips and cuticles that simply do not respond to regular moisturizer, no matter how often or how generously you apply it. Skin that feels tight and paper-thin in certain spots, almost translucent under bright light. Peeling that clears up briefly and then keeps coming back in the exact same places. What actually matters here is not the dryness on its own. Plenty of people have occasionally dry hands and nothing else going on. What matters is the pattern. If your hand dryness is persistent, fairly symmetrical between both hands, and exists alongside dry eyes, dry mouth, joint pain, or unrelenting fatigue, that combined pattern is Sjogren's until proven otherwise. It is not a coincidence and it is not bad luck with lotion. Do not let a doctor tell you to drink more water and send you home without asking the harder question out loud. Could this be connected to something systemic? Before we move to number 4, I want you to notice something. If you have made it this far without skipping ahead, there is a good chance at least 2 of the first 3 signs sounded uncomfortably familiar. That is not a coincidence, and it is exactly why the next 3 matter just as much, because most people only ever hear about 1 or 2 of these in isolation and never get the full picture. Keep going, because numbers 5 and 6 are the 2 that even some specialists overlook entirely. Number 4. Joint swelling and stiffness in the knuckles. Think back to that fist you made right at the start of this video. How did it actually feel? Was it smooth and effortless, or did you notice resistance, tightness, even a mild ache settling into the knuckles as you squeezed? Sjogren's causes synovial inflammation, which means the lining of the joints themselves becomes inflamed, not just the surrounding muscle or skin. The knuckles and the small joints of the hands are frequent targets of this process. You may notice swelling, warmth, or a general puffiness in the fingers that seems to fluctuate along with your overall disease activity, getting noticeably worse during flares and quieting down during calmer stretches. In fibromyalgia, the joint stiffness is generated through a completely different mechanism. There is typically no measurable joint inflammation that shows up on imaging or blood work, which is part of why fibromyalgia gets dismissed so often. But the pain and stiffness are absolutely real, and they are produced by a central nervous system that is misinterpreting normal sensory input as pain signals. The absence of visible inflammation does not mean the absence of a real physiological problem. Together, Sjogren's and fibromyalgia occurring in the same person can make hand stiffness and knuckle pain a daily reality that meaningfully impacts quality of life, from opening a car door to typing a text message. Tracking when it is worst, and specifically whether it correlates with fatigue, stress, weather changes, or poor sleep the night before, gives your care team genuinely useful information they cannot get from a single appointment snapshot. Number 5. Raynaud's phenomenon. This one is critical, and it is extremely common in Sjogren's, yet it still gets explained away as just having cold hands. If your fingers turn white, then blue, then red in response to cold temperatures or emotional stress, that progression of colors is not just cold hands. That is Raynaud's phenomenon. The blood vessels in the fingers go into spasm and temporarily cut off circulation. The color change can be dramatic and sometimes frightening the first time you see it happen, and the fingers may ache, throb, or feel numb during the episode before circulation returns and sensation comes flooding back, often with a sharp, prickling pain of its own. Raynaud's is not just a nuisance to manage with warmer gloves. In the context of an autoimmune condition like Sjogren's, it is a signal that your vascular system itself is being affected by ongoing immune activity. This is called secondary Raynaud's, meaning Raynaud's that occurs alongside an autoimmune condition rather than occurring entirely on its own with no underlying cause, and secondary Raynaud's carries far more clinical significance than the primary form that some people experience without any autoimmune disease at all. If you have Sjogren's and you experience these color changes in your fingers with cold exposure or stress, tell your rheumatologist specifically, do not just mention it in passing. There are interventions that genuinely help, from medication to lifestyle adjustments, and leaving it unaddressed over years can affect circulation in the fingertips permanently, sometimes leading to skin changes or sores at the fingertips in more severe cases. Number 6. Muscle weakness and trembling in the hands. Hold your hand out flat in front of you right now, fingers extended. Is it steady, or do you notice a fine tremor, a subtle shake that was not there a few years ago? Now think about grip strength specifically. Does opening a jar, gripping a pen for more than a few minutes, or holding your phone up to scroll leave your hand feeling fatigued in a way that feels disproportionate to the actual effort involved? In fibromyalgia, muscle weakness and trembling in the hands are reported frequently, and they are often attributed broadly to overall central sensitization and the deep fatigue that comes with the condition, which is partly accurate but incomplete. In Sjogren's, there is an additional and more specific mechanism at play. When Sjogren's involves the muscles directly, a condition called myositis, it can cause true, measurable muscle weakness, not just a subjective feeling of fatigue. The hands and arms are frequently affected when this occurs, and it represents actual muscle tissue inflammation rather than nervous system amplification alone. The combination of fibromyalgia-related functional weakness and Sjogren's-related myositis can make everyday tasks like opening jars, gripping a pen, carrying grocery bags, or holding a phone for an extended period feel genuinely exhausting in a way that is physiological, not psychological, and not a matter of effort or willpower. If you are experiencing progressive hand weakness that is clearly getting worse over time rather than staying the same, request a creatine kinase blood test, often abbreviated as a CK test, and specifically ask whether a myositis workup is appropriate for your case. This is a simple blood draw that can rule in or rule out actual muscle inflammation, and it is frequently never ordered unless you ask for it directly. Before we wrap up, here is one bonus sign that almost never gets mentioned, and it is worth glancing at the next time you sit down to type this comment. Bonus sign. Changes around your nails and cuticles. Take a close look at the base of your nails, right where the skin meets the nail plate. In some people with Sjogren's, you may notice the cuticles becoming rough, ragged, or unusually overgrown, sometimes with small areas of redness or visible tiny blood vessels near the edge. This happens because the same small blood vessels affected by Raynaud's and the same connective tissue affected by collagen changes also run right through this area. You might also notice your nails becoming more brittle than they used to be, splitting more easily, or developing fine ridges running lengthwise down the nail. None of this is something to self-diagnose from alone, but if you are already noticing several of the other 5 signs, this is a small extra clue worth photographing over time and showing your doctor at your next visit, because subtle vascular and connective tissue changes around the nail bed are something rheumatologists are specifically trained to evaluate, and a simple visual exam can sometimes catch what blood work misses. So let's recap, because all 6 core signs, plus this bonus one, together paint a far more complete picture than any single one on its own. Tingling and numbness in the fingertips, often at night. Thick, waxy, or stiff skin with restricted range of motion in the morning. Persistent, symmetrical dryness and cracking around the fingers and cuticles. Swelling and stiffness in the knuckles that fluctuates with flares. Raynaud's phenomenon with that distinct white, blue, and red color progression in cold or stress. And muscle weakness or fine trembling that is getting worse rather than staying steady. No single sign on this list proves anything on its own. A lot of these can happen to anyone occasionally. But when you start noticing 2, 3, or more of these together, consistently, over weeks and months, that is not coincidence, and it is not just getting older. That is your body building a pattern, and patterns are exactly what get diagnoses moving forward after years of being stuck. These 6 signals matter because Sjogren's and fibromyalgia are both conditions that get dismissed, minimized, and delayed for years, sometimes by well-meaning doctors who simply were not trained to look at the hands this closely. The hands are one of the clearest places your body is trying to communicate what is happening on the inside, quietly, persistently, long before a lab result catches up to what you already know about your own body. Learning to read those signals gives you language and evidence to bring into the room with your doctor, and that can genuinely change the direction of your care. If you want a full breakdown of how to track these 6 symptoms day by day and exactly what to bring to your next appointment so you are not starting that conversation from scratch, go ahead and comment the words hand signs below this video, and we will send it to you completely free. Before you go, drop a comment letting me know which one of these 6 signs surprised you the most, or which one you have been quietly dealing with for years without realizing it had a name. Reading through those comments genuinely helps shape what we cover next, and it helps everyone else scrolling through realize they are not the only one. And one more thing before you go. If this video helped you understand something about your own body a little better today, please hit that like button. It genuinely helps this information reach more people who need it. Subscribe to the channel so you do not miss the next one, and share this with someone who has been told their symptoms are all in their head, or that they are just stressed, or that it is probably nothing. They deserve to know the truth about what their body might be telling them. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one.